That's a good point. Let's just touch on this real quick, because I was talking to an individual the other day, and he was saying, you know what, I'd still rather be Canadian because at least nobody in Canada is going bankrupt due to medical debt, right? There's no medical bankruptcy in Canada. At least we got that. Congratulations. And it got me thinking. I was like,
what about normal bankruptcies?
Yeah, but that's what I wanted to know, right? So I did a little bit of a dive because I'm just like, okay, it's true. Some Americans go into medical debt and bankruptcy. First of all, you have to understand, in the US, roughly 7% of the population is uninsured. It's 7% too much, but they're not the poor and needy. A lot of people that are medically uninsured, one, it's either a choice or they fall in this little narrow gap, right? Because if you're employed, like every employer in the US provides you medical insurance. And if you're unemployed or you're broke or you're on welfare, you get Medicaid or Medicare or TRICARE in the US. They have plenty of government services for healthcare in the US, okay? Plenty. People don't know that. But there's a small sliver, oftentimes self-employed people, by the way. Oftentimes self-employed people that make enough that they're not considered capable, or they're not qualifying for Medicaid, so they're not broke. But they're not, again, since their companies maybe
wealthy.
They're not so wealthy that they can't necessarily afford it, right? They fall in that sliver, and that's not good. There's got to be a solution for this. But at the same time, the average American is taxed considerably, and I mean considerably less than Canadians, and they have a heck of a lot more disposable income. So if they're, and the cost of living in most cities is also much lower than Canada. Significantly lower. So if you have an ounce of personal responsibility, you are in a better position economically, and you can put money aside in case of medical needs. But I just started thinking, okay, knowing that the average Canadian is under so much strain due to the insane level of taxation, and our dollar is so weak, and our economy is sputtering, and our unemployment rate is going up month by month, quarter by quarter, and our productivity is down to shitter compared to the US. I'm like, okay, we're not doing good.
Youth unemployment,
that's a big one as well. So I decided to look at the insolvency rate Canada versus the US, because you know what? Fine, let's see. So the US has right now, for the year 2024, a insolvency rate of 1.4 per 1,000 people. That's personal insolvency. We're not talking corporate here, right? So I'm like, okay, that's not bad. And I assumed, honestly, Canada would be around there as well. I don't know why, because I'm like, okay, well, in the US, they have medical. Yeah, sure, again, their economy is doing better, but like, you know, it's true. They do have medical insolvency, which enters in this number, by the way. And then I looked it up for Canada. And for the 12-month, and it made me cry, I think, deep down inside. For so many of us, I wept. For the 12-month period ending in December 31st, 2024, the personal insolvency rate in Canada was approximately 3.3 per 1,000. That is more than double the US insolvency rate. So no, even though nobody's going bankrupt for medical bills, no, people are just going bankrupt from living, from fucking daily life, because the burden we have, our economy is so shit, our incomes are lower, and our tax burden is ridiculously higher, leaving people with very little disposable income. The cost of living is skyrocketing, which causes people to start using debt, lines of credit, personal loans, credit card, to try to make ends meet, to try to tie the deficit at the end. We spoke about the deficit.
So you asked me earlier, what do I think is going to happen in Canada?
Yes, please tell me. Please.
So the Carney Liberals are failing Canada in their promise in cutting spending.
Yes.
Their forecasted budget is coming in at significantly higher than Trudeau's budget. I think they're forecasting, 69 billion, something like this, right around there. This is pretty much like astronomical compared to even Justin Trudeau, who was also a monster on that front, like these massive growing deficits. If you look at historically, the real deficits started coming in 2019, 2020. Trudeau's deficits were not that bad when he started.
And keep in mind, by the way, he inherited a surplus.
Yes. So his deficits were slow. They started increasing, and now Carney's deficits are about to blow it out of the water. And we had the COVID spending. And so we learned a lot about economic factors during the COVID spending. Economists knew this, but people were not paying attention. And so they're going to run massive deficits, meaning we're going to have inflation. They're going to need to print money to pay these deficits, or they're going to have to get more in debt. Those are the only ways to find, or increase taxes, which They can do.
Where? How?
What income?
Yeah.
What income are you taxing, bro? Okay, let's continue.
You can't draw blood from a rock, man.
Exactly. And so what's going to happen in inflation? Same thing that happened during COVID. Deficit spending, money printing, more debt, more inflation.
Yeah.
That we learned that.
Absolutely.
We already know that. If you don't know that, you're a moron at this point.
Absolutely.
Okay? Or you're not, or you're just a child. You don't know anything.
That too.
You're either a moron, you're completely living under a rock. That's
but again,
it.
the education system never teaches you that.
It's your responsibility as an individual with the technology that we have to do your math homework. That's my perspective. Okay. I'm tired of this soft, I don't have we have AI. We live in a society where we have AI now. We have all the information. We have Wikipedia for the last 20 years. Learn your economics, buddy. You're a citizen of the country. Learn the economics. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, you talk about a big deficit, the stock market is tanking. People are actually freaking out when the country is reporting a deficit. But apparently now it doesn't really matter. But anyways, so debt is going to skyrocket. So what's going to happen to the dollar? It's going to plummet. So what does that do to, how does that apply? How does that impact citizens? So first of all, we already live in a country where most taxpayers cannot buy a home. They're barely scraping by to pay their rent, which has pretty much doubled in the last decade. Well, what's going to happen to rental income when immigration continues? What's going to happen to rent prices when they keep bringing in immigrants? It's going to keep going up.
Yep.
Okay, food inflation. Food inflation is going to continue.
Yeah.
Right? We've seen the trend in the last 5-6 years. Well, what's going to happen with more deficit spending and money printing? Well, food's going to be higher. So this is core necessities that are going to become almost unaffordable if things continue on this trajectory, which the Carney Liberals have shown no actual tangible solutions to drive us away from that. And so
but where does it lead?
Where does it lead? It leads to people being destitute and poor and then literally dying of poverty. I'm sorry to make it so heavy and drastic, and people will call me an alarmist or whatever, but if you're struggling already to afford food and the Carney Liberals keep printing more than the Trudeau Liberals, it stands to reason that your food and your home is going to become so expensive that you will not be able to afford it. And you will not be able to afford any alternatives. The Carney Liberals housing platform of building these small homes for $3 million each, it's egregious. Like, people are not aware of this. And what is it going to do? It's going to make your future generations poor. I'm sorry. There's no other outcome.
Unless you're a boomer, because now your $1 million home is about to become $2 million.
Oh, yeah. But you want to talk about the inherit. This brings us to, oh my God, this is a great time to bring this in.
And side note, while you look for it, right?
I already got it.
Just a side note, because you said like people have AI, like it's their responsibility to figure it out. So I just went on Google's Gemini, right, which is on Grok. Grok would be like a little bit more right leaning. This is fucking Google, and I just wrote, "Is Canada's economy doing well?" And the response is no. I wish it was just no, but it's no. Canada's economy is Canada's economy is not currently performing well overall, despite showing some resilience in certain areas. A range of economic data from mid to late 2025 points to a sluggish economy, high household debt, and trade-related uncertainty, although it is expected to avoid a technical recession. We always avoid a technical recession. I don't know why. Unemployment rate rose to 7.1%. Youth unemployment reached 14.6%. That is insane.
Disgusting.
That is so bad. That's so bad. And the overall economy contracted by 0.4% in the second quarter. Okay, so we're not doing good. That was my point.
Okay. We're not. And so let's take a look at this. Children hit with 660,000 tax bill after parents die in Ontario. Wow. Okay. Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah.
It's a girl. I think it was a girl. I don't remember.
I was doing that sound just because
an Ontario woman and her brother faced a 669,126 tax bill after both parents died, forcing them to drain nearly all of their parents' RRSP savings to cover it. Jeez. Now, the RRSP is taken from you against your will from your paycheck. Okay? So this is like it's framed as a savings tool, that it's going to be your real retirement savings program. When it came down to passing it down to your children, the government tried to take a bunch of it. And people need to be up in arms about this, but we're not.
No, but it's because the average Canadian is going to be like, yeah, but you inherited some money, so you're wealthy. Just shut the fuck up and pay your bill. That's the reaction.
The cost of living is inflated. So even if you're lucky with this inheritance, even if you're lucky to get like a chunk of it, it's going to last you like what, maybe 5 to 10 years, and then you're back in the gutter.
Absolutely agree with you, but the average Canadian just does not understand that. And the issue here is that we have an inheritance tax in Canada. It's not called that, but it's a rule that the CRA uses, which is called deemed disposition. So whenever someone dies, all of their assets are deemed disposed of at the day of their death.
Yeah.
Sold, exactly. And if the asset, carried a capital gain, then it's payable from the estate itself. The thing is that it is true that in Canada, our primary residences are sheltered from capital gains tax. However, these two individuals it was brother sister, right?
Brother sister.
Brother sister. These two individuals, the family also had a cottage, and the problem is that a cottage, and it is a problem because it should be sheltered as well, or at least it should be tax deferred. But no, it was considered to have been sold the day their parents died, and it carried a huge amount of capital gains due to that. And on top of that, the RSPs are also considered deemed disposed, and the RSPs are taxable later on because it's tax deferred. Anyways, all that to say, go ahead, blow it. I'm ready. I'm sitting down.
The government printed and flooded the country with immigration, which increased our property prices. So that when it comes to time to inherit, the people that are supposed to inherit it from their parents, their parents are gutted at when it comes time to pay that tax bill. These innocent people, like this cottage should not be that expensive. They should not have to pay such a massive tax bill for just inheriting what their parents worked their entire lives to provide for their children.
Absolutely.
It doesn't go to the government.
It should not.
It shouldn't. It's completely unethical. It's anyways.